Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are going to talk about all the series that I am DNFing after 2024. All right, we got a lot of things on this list, which I was not anticipating having this many DNFs for this year, but this is where we are, and I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's just how it is. So let's go ahead. Which way do I want to put it? I guess we'll do it that way. We'll put it here. Okay, first off, I finally decided that I am going to DNF the Alchemical Journeys series by Shauna McGuire. And what really cinched this for me is that I read Middle Game when it first came out and I loved it, 5 stars. And then I read book 2, Seasonal Fears, last year when it came out, and I think I gave it a 3. I was disappointed. It was not as engaging. It was not as fun. I didn't find it as interesting as I found Middle Game. And then book 3, Tidal Creatures, came out this year, and I've really been on the fence about whether or not I wanted to continue with this series. And what clinched it for me is that I reread Middle Game last month and I loved it even more, maybe on the reread, that I want to leave those characters and that world where they were at the end of Middle Game. I don't need more. I don't need more from this world. I don't need more characters. Maybe if Roger and Dodger were the central focus of the other books, I would be more engaged because my love for those characters is so deep, but I just don't feel like the characters in Seasonal Fears were as fully formed and fully fleshed out as they are in Middle Game. So I'm going to leave that series where it is, on the high note that is Middle Game, and I'm not going to feel pressured by myself. To be clear, nobody else is pressuring me. It's all internal, but I'm not going to feel pressured to continue on with that series. Also, before I go on, I want to do a big fat caveat that I am a firm believer in never say never. So even though I say I am DNFing these series, there's a few where absolutely not, I'm not continuing on. But there are also a number where maybe in 5 years I could circle around and finish them. But by saying series DNF, I'm just taking them off my actively want to read these books mental list. So never say never, but for now, I don't want to read these books anymore. Okay, that's a disclaimer. One of the series that I am definitely not going to continue reading is the House Witch series by Delamock. I read book 1, I don't even know how long ago, and I read book 2 again last month, and I'm just kind of over it. I realized in reading book 2 that Delamock does not know how to end a book. They just stop. They're just writing, and then they just end. And there's no resolution. It's not even a cliffhanger because there's nothing building up to something and then it stops. It just stops in the middle. And then you have to go get book 2 or 3 or whatever to continue on the story. So I really feel like this series should be one big book because that is honestly how it is structured. And I kind of just don't want to read from an author who doesn't know how to write a beginning, middle, and an end to their book. I just don't want to do that for myself. I want an ending. Even if it's ambiguous, that's fine, or a cliffhanger, that's fine, but I need some sort of end dot to complete my reading experience. The just stopping in the middle is so unsatisfying. So I'm gonna DNF that series. I don't know that I'll really read. I mean, again, never say never. I may come back and read this author again, but for now, I think I'm just done. I also think I'm gonna DNF the Time of Iron series by Sarah Reese Brennan. Book 1 is Long Live Evil, which I did read this year, and I will say Long Live Evil has a great ending. There's a lot of action leading up to it. There's a reveal that's super cool. She really does a great job of leaving the breadcrumbs to get you to want to pick up book 2 and need it in your hands right this very minute. But that's maybe 15% of the book. And I spent the first 85% of that book pretty bored and not super engaged in what was going on. And for that reason, I think for my own sanity, I just have to tell myself that I'm done with this series and I don't need to keep reading it. Now, this is one I can see myself backtracking on when book 2 comes out, if there's a lot of hype, if there's a lot of buzz, if it's getting really good reviews, better than Long Live Evil got, because Long Live Evil, from what I have seen, got pretty mid reviews. So if the reviews for book 2 are really, really positive, and from people who had a mid experience with book 1, I could be convinced to pick it up. But I just have to remind myself that ultimately I did not have a good time with book 1. And that's the thing I need to carry with me, not how exciting the ending is. I also think I'm going to DNF the Pies Before Guys series. This is by Misha Pop. This is a cozy mystery, and this is another one where I had a really mid experience with book 1. This this cozy mystery about a woman named Daisy who owns a pie business, and she has like her front-facing pie business where she makes pies and sells them out of a food truck and is very popular. And then she has like her underground pie business where she has magic where she can bake intention into pie. And so she uses that ability to send pies to men who harm women, and the pies the guys. So we got a mystery in this one. There is also a romance, as there usually is in cozy mystery. And I actually did not like the romance in this. I felt like he could do better. Just not the vibe I want. I am always expecting that she could do better, but I don't like it when I feel like he could do better. That's usually a sign that I need to not read the book, because if I don't like the heroine, we're in trouble. I think I could just let this one pass. Even though the covers, I hate the cover for book 1. The covers for book 2 and 3 are so cute. Like, I really almost want to continue on in the series just for how cute the covers get, but I also have to protect my average rating on Storygraph. I'm also gonna DNF the Book of Tea. Book 1 is A Magic Steeped in Poison. I gave A Magic Steeped in Poison 4 stars, but as I said in the vlog when I was reading it, I read it at a time where I wasn't paying attention to what I was reading very much. I was picking it up and I was turning the page, and it was easy to read, and I was turning pages real fast, but I was so stressed out in my everyday life that I wasn't able to focus when I was reading because my stress was so high. And so even though it didn't do anything offensive, the writing is good, I thought the world building was interesting. I wasn't engaged, but I mean, it wasn't hurting my feelings by reading it, but because I didn't track, I would have to reread that book to continue on. I think it's only a duology, and I'm just not going to do that. So I'm going to DNF that duology. I think the author has another series that is just starting to come out, and so I think I'll read from her other books, but I just have to call it a wash. Even though it was my fault, not the book, it was me. I'm also gonna DNF the Auntie series. Ooh, can I remember this author's name? By Jessie Q. Sutanto. Y'all, I'm remembering these authors just off the top of my head, and I remembered so many of them. I didn't write any of them down. I'm just pulling it out from somewhere. I did not like Dial A for Aunties. I was expecting a Vera Wong vibe, and I did not get that. This was not cute. This was not cozy. This was not fun. This was stressful because our main character was stressed. I also did not like the way she talked to her mom or to her aunties. I did not like the romance at all. Again, I think he can do better. Book 2 is their wedding. I'm like, no. I don't want to read about how he's marrying her when she doesn't treat him very well. So again, if I feel like he can do better, the book did not do its job. Okay, this one's kind of weird. I'm going to be DNFing the Inheritance Games. But I don't think what I'm DNFing is called the Inheritance Games. So I read the first 4 of the Inheritance Game series. The Inheritance Games, I don't remember what book 2 is called, and the Final Gambit are like the first, like that's the main trilogy. I didn't realize the Brothers Hawthorne was kind of a bridge book between the Inheritance Games and this next like spin-off series that she's doing. And I did not like the Brothers Hawthorne. It changed the format too much. The 2 brothers I find the least interesting were the focus. And I don't know that I am really interested in what comes next if it's not connected, like if Avery is not the main character. And I believe in this next series, it's going to be more like the Brothers Hawthorne than it is like the first 3 books in the Inheritance Game series. And that's just not something I'm interested in. I'm not really interested in watching rich people solve puzzles and then get richer. I'm not really I know there are a lot of people who like to read about rich people behaving poorly. That's never been like a dynamic that I'm drawn to. I'm interested in watching somebody who is not wealthy coming into that situation and kind of like causing some chaos in their midst, kind of like Avery does in the first 3 books. Like that I'm interested in, but I'm just not interested in rich people drama. All right, this one is also kind of complicated and feels like a hot take for me to have, but I think I'm going to kind of DNF just like the Cat Sebastian universe. And hear me out. Because I have a lot of friends who love Cat Sebastian, and I know she's beloved, and I get it. I mean, that's a problem. I don't get it. I think I convinced myself that as a queer person, I needed to love Cat Sebastian to be a good member of the queer community. And what I kind of realized this year is that while I can recognize that Cat Sebastian is a good author, her books are always just kind of mid for me. Like, they're always somewhere between a 3 and a 4 star. I have like one that I probably gave like a 4.25, but they're always books that I pick up expecting a 5-star reading experience, and then it's not. And then I'm disappointed. And then I'm kind of mad at myself that I don't love her as much as other friends I have who are queer love her. And so I think I just need to like accept that Cat Sebastian just doesn't hit for me the way she hits for a lot of other people. And again, I feel like a bad member of the queer community for saying that, but I need to stop knowingly putting myself in experiences that are just gonna be, no, it's fine, you know? Because I really want to try to prioritize less this is fine moments. I don't want these this is fine moments. I want more like, oh, I love this moments. And so I think to that end, I kind of need to just like put Cat Sebastian over here where other people can read her books, and then I can go and find other authors who write queer books that I love as much as my friends love Cat Sebastian, if that makes sense. All right, this one's kind of a duh. We won't stay on this too much, but I'm going to DNF Remembrance of Earth's Past. This is a series that Three Body Problem is a part of. I read Three Body Problem over the summer. I didn't like it. I don't think anybody was surprised that I didn't like it. However, I did give it to my husband and he didn't like it either. So that makes me feel better because I was like, well, do I not just like this because it's very much a bro sci-fi book? And then my husband didn't like it either. So I feel, I feel vindicated or affirmed. I feel something. I'm DNFing the Sand Sea Trilogy, which is the series that The Stardust Thief is book 1 for. I was so excited to read this book. I thought I was going to love it. S.A. Chakraborty does the blurb on the front. It's desert fantasy. It's, you know, it's got all these buzzwords that are words that really draw my attention. Like, they're usually a good sign that I'm really gonna love this book. But I felt like this one just kind of failed to live up to its potential. I felt like the inside of the book did not match what was on the synopsis on the back of the book. And yeah, which is too bad because, like I said, I was super excited about it. So I am not going to be continuing on. I'm also DNFing Tomes and Tea by Rebecca Thorne. I DNF'd Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. Like, I read it when it was still indie published, or I tried to read it and I DNF'd it. I couldn't get into it. There was too much conflict in a book that was supposed to be a cozy fantasy. And I read it pretty shortly after I read Legends and Lattes and was looking for something that was like Legends and Lattes, which is what this book had been marketed as. And it was just too much conflict. And some of it felt really repetitive. And then I tried again earlier this year because I had access to the audiobooks, and it is now traditionally published. And it's the same thing. There's too much conflict. And I felt the characters that make up the couple in this book, their communication fell into the same rhythm every time there was a conflict. One of them would do something that put their life in danger, the other one would get mad, they would fight, and then one of them would apologize and they'd make up, and then something else would happen where one of them put their life in danger, and we'd do the whole cycle over and over again. And while, like, yes, like, yay for modeling what open and honest communication looks like in a relationship, man, it got boring real fast. So I am not continuing on in this series. Definitely not. Another one that's probably not a surprise, I am DNFing the Space Janitor series. I read The Vacuum of Space earlier this year, and I gotta stop saying that because you all know I read these this year. Oof, that was the worst mystery I think I've ever read in my life. Also, the worst sci-fi book I think I've ever read because it's just so unimaginative in its scope. Like, we're in this space station. We're in the future, like way, way, way in the future. And everybody is represented by different Earth nationalities. So, like, one character has a Russian accent and is from Russia, and another one is American, and another one is Scottish, and another one is something. And it's like, we are that far in the future, and these people have been on the space station for generations. Why do we still have accents? Why are we still connected to these countries? Doesn't make sense. Also, the murder mystery wasn't good, so not reading that anymore. I will also be DNFing. Oh, it's actually right here. Hey, look, I have a book to hold up. I'm going to DNF Hooky by Miriam Bonister Tur. I think the author is from Spain. And so this is a translated graphic novel. It was also a web comic, and it's for middle grade. And I read it because my children have been obsessed with the series. We have all 3 books and they just love them. And so I wanted to see what the hype was about. Also, it's about twins who are witches. I love the art style. It's so cute. It's so pretty. But this is just too long. And it's more like vignette a lot of the time than a cohesive story. But at the end of the day, it's just too long. And it felt like it took forever to read. I usually fly through, this is 384 pages, and it did not need to be that long. It doesn't matter how cute the art style is. This is a weird one to be bringing up now, but I finally circled back and tried to continue on with the Enola Holmes series by Nancy Springer this year. And even though I really loved it when I first started reading it back when the first movie was first coming out, I read book 1 and 2 and I really, really liked them. But I've outgrown them in the meantime, which I mean would make sense. It's a middle grade murder mystery series, but it's one of the few cases where I think the movie is a better representation than book is. I don't know if that's a spicy take or not, but if I want to engage with this world, I would rather watch the first movie or even the second movie, which the second movie is not, I would not say it's a good movie, but it's a fun time. And these books I don't think are fun times anymore. Okay, we got 2 left, which is good because these DNF videos are always bummers for me to film. I'm gonna DNF Fella Enchanted by S.O. Callahan. Oh, how do I explain this? Okay, I think it's only a duology, so I'm not missing out on too much, but I picked this up because S.O. Callahan and Sarah Wallace collab on a series. And if Sarah Wallace sounds familiar to you, that's because they are the author of my one true love, Letters to Half Moon Street. And I figured, since I love Sarah Wallace's writing so much, that I would probably really love S.O. Callahan's writing too. And I did not. Sad to say. This is another queer romance. It's set in Ireland, I believe. And the main character is human. The love interest is a fae. But it just, I don't know, it was heavier than I wanted it to be. I never really got wrapped up in the romance. I could really take or leave the romance, which is red flag for me. If I am ambivalent about the romance, then that is not a book I need to be reading. I still want to read the series that S.O. Callahan writes with Sarah Wallace because I'm hoping I will like that, but Fell Enchanted in general, I don't need to read book 2. And then I'm going to probably, most likely, 90% sure that I'm going to be DNFing the Alamaxa duology. Book 1 is The Daughters of Izdahar. I read The Daughters of Izdahar. When did I read it? You know when I read it. And I thought it was fine. There is, again, this is a book that has a lot of buzzwords that I like. S.A. Chakraborty blurbed it. It's desert fantasy. And what I didn't love about this is that there is a dual POV and you're switching back and forth. And there was one POV that I found absolutely insufferable. And then there was one that I really liked. And so every time we switched to the one that I found insufferable, I struggled to get through that book. And I initially, when I finished The Daughters of Izdahar, I believe I said I would be willing to continue on, but book 2 wasn't out yet when I read it, and now it's been so much time that I don't really remember what happened in The Daughters of Izdahar, and so I think I'm just gonna take it off the table. That's okay. I don't need to read it. I mean, maybe this is one where maybe I'll come back around to it later, but for now, for my own sanity, I think I'm just done. So there we go. Those are all the series that I am DNFing this year. It feels like a lot, but it went by faster than I thought it would. I actually finished quite a few series this year, which was a pleasant surprise to see when I was going through my Storygraph lists yesterday. I feel good that I don't have to track all these books and I can just hopefully not feel any internalized pressure to continue on in these series. I would love to know what series you are DNFing for this next year. If I am DNFing anything that you feel like the next book could really change my mind in the series, feel free to let me know what that is. I am always open to having my mind changed. I think we need to normalize changing our minds, so you are welcome to try to change my mind on any of these series if you feel really passionately about it. Otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Bye!